get all the navigation done right. I got lost a couple of times.
Okay. So, in fact,
And
just before you joined the live, I was just trying to tell the audience that how the Dakar is the toughest motorsport event in the world, and it's
yeah,
something that, unfortunately, it really is, something that takes away a few lives maybe every other year. But yeah, it's something that everybody just wants to be a part of, and that's how lucrative being a part of the Dakar is. So, on the same note, so of course, when you started back in your career, so what was it that really pushed you to start cross country rallying, or did you really sort of envision that back then when you were in motocross, did you want to do the Dakar, or how was it?
not really, but like I actually started watching the Dakar like back when I was like around 5 or something. It was
Right.
called the Paris Dakar. Like it was
Yes.
still happening from Paris to Africa,
Yeah.
and basically I started watching it via cassette. Like so, my dad used to work abroad, and every time he came back, he used to bring a cassette of the Dakar of
Right.
every year, and I used to watch it the whole year over and over. I
Yeah.
like the cars more. I didn't really focus on the bikes, and I didn't want to race it. I didn't think so much. But anyways,
Yeah.
I started watching it back then, and then I started racing. Like I got a motorcycle around when I was 16, and I took part in like a local race, and that's
Right.
when I fell in love with riding the bike on the dirt, and then I really didn't think about cars anymore. And I actually, yeah, and then I started racing in India, raced Supercross, and won a
Okay.
few championships. And then, of course, TVS Racing was the first Indian manufacturer to take part in the Dakar,
Right.
and that opened up opportunities, and that's how I ended up racing the Dakar. And yeah.
So, since you mentioned that initially you like cars, so given a choice, would you want to switch to cars, or you're happy with bikes?
For the time being, I'm pretty happy with the bikes.
Okay. I think a lot of bikers here would be happy to hear that from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and in terms of training, so of course, I think the biggest question on everybody's minds, past 1 year, over a year now, in fact, has been how the pandemic has affected everything, the entire world, and including motorsport. So, how
Yeah.
have you tried to keep sane, throughout?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's difficult for everybody. For some people, it's a little more difficult, especially, for the people living in the city and stuff. Like, respect to them that, staying in one house or one flat for
Yeah.
during the lockdown, it's really hard. Like, I don't know if I could do it, but I'm blessed to be living in like a farm kind of place. Like my parents, we have a little small property and a few cows and stuff like that, and I have a small track here. And
Okay.
so yeah, I almost like last year during the lockdown, and now also I can continue riding. Obviously, it's the same place, but still, it's better than not riding. And yeah, and also at home I have the Scott bike and a home trainer, and I do a lot of indoor training with Zwift, and of course some strength training as well. So pretty
Great.
much pretty good. And especially last year during the lockdown when it started, I felt
Yeah.
like I actually had more time to focus on a few things which I could work on, especially in the fitness area, because
Right.
I normally on a normal year, if there's no lockdown, I am always traveling or going for training or testing or races. I'm training, of course, but not very focused. So I was at home for more than a couple of months, so I had time to focus on things which needed to be worked on. So that was good.
So, in a way, I mean, would it be right to say that somewhere the lockdown, in a way, helped you sort of focus better?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
And yeah, of course, I mean, considering the restrictions and everything, so in terms of getting visas and stuff, how difficult was it last year compared to earlier pre-COVID times, like in terms of travel and going for the rally and all the paperwork and permits?
Yeah, definitely. The Dakar was like just before the Dakar, that second wave, not second wave, but the second type of COVID from
Right.
UK came out, and everybody was not sure if like everybody had questions, is it going to happen and stuff like that.
Right.
And fortunately, it happened, and I think the organization did a really good job. Like I flew to Saudi from France, and it was like a private flight for just the competitors and mechanics, and basically just the Dakar people, and they took major, like, all precautions for against COVID. You know, you had to wear a mask and you had to do quarantine once you reached Saudi Arabia, and you know, do so many PCR tests. So everything went was pretty, like, respect to them that they did a really good job. You know.
Yeah, I believe the Saudi government was very cooperative and really helped you guys out, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, you know, in terms of at the stages as compared to, say, previous year's Dakar, how was it this time? Because, you know, you were maintaining social distancing, you had the mask and all of that. So how was the experience this year vis-a-vis last year?
Yeah, this year there was, for example, before every stage, like in the evening, there are these. They talk about the stage the next day, and like a
Right.
briefing kind of thing. So there was a briefing, but we were told to go as with minimal people. So actually, just one person went from the team. So you know, we just got the video and we had to, like, see it in the truck, like in the place we were staying at. So that was a little different, and also eating, like, the food, like during the food times, like we had, like, we could sit and eat, but I preferred to take the food from the cafeteria and take it back to the truck and, you know, eat it there. And definitely was a little different for sure, but at the end of the day, really happy that I could race the Dakar and you know, finish.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that I think has been the biggest talking point for you this year. You know that you finished. You're in fact Indian to finish the top 20 in the Dakar. So how was it? How was the feeling when you finally, you know, crossed the finish line for the last stage?
Yeah, for sure. The last stage was super, like, was the most difficult stage for me. I had some issues. You know, the bike was a little, like, giving up, and so I was stressed the whole stage. I had to, like, not push too much, and but so I just, like, the whole stage. It was very short. It was like 200 kilometers, but the whole stage I was thinking about, you know, I have to finish the stage somehow. I have to finish, and I was going slow, and I finished the stage, and I came to know about my position. So I don't know if you know, but I was not following my position during this Dakar or last Dakar. Like, I never checked my rankings or results. So I came to know, like, after I reached the bivouac after the Dakar, that I finished 20th. Like, the whole Dakar, I didn't know where I was finishing, because yeah, that's just a strategy I went with, and I think it works for me.
So, of course, I mean, that was a conscious effort, like you just mentioned, in terms of the strategy. So, I mean, you somewhere didn't want, you think it was a distraction to try and find out where you were standing?
No, I just think, like, at the end of the day, I want to, especially a race like Dakar, because it's for 2 weeks and it's for so many kilometers. It's best if I just ride as well as I can within my limits, because you don't want to go above your limits and do big mistakes. I mean, that happens, of course. It's more easier said than done. But so yes, because of that, I just thought, like, you know, if I just ride and do my own thing and try to ride as good as I can, you know, I will finish where I finish. So that was the goal.
Great. And of course, so any interesting stories that you could share with us, you know, from this year's Dakar? I'm sure there's might be quite a few.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the stage 4 was definitely not easy, because I had the crash, and yeah, it's like same like last year after the crash, because last year I had the crash in stage 1. So after the crash, it was like, why did it happen? Like, did it just really happen? Did I really crash? But anyways, I didn't lose too much time there. I actually picked, like, maybe a minute or two to get back on the bike, but, like, the bike was all broken, like the exhaust was gone and everything. And I continued. Obviously, I was hurting also, but I just continued. And towards the end, like 40 or 50 kilometers before the end, the bike stopped. Right, so I didn't know why it stopped. So I got off the bike, and then I noticed that the bike has like 3 fuel tanks, and one in the front and 2 in the back. No, 2 in the front and 1 in the back, and the rear one was broken, and it's interconnected. So all the fuel had gone out, and I had no fuel, and I still had 50 or 60 kilometers to go. And I was like, no, the Dakar is done for me, you know. So like I was like, I didn't know what to do, you know. And I actually, the beginning, I thought it's finished, you know. I'm done, and
Right.
I really didn't want to continue in the experience category because that's what I did last year, and
Right.
it's like, you know, why again? And then
Yeah.
after a few seconds, I thought, okay, I have to try to get to the finish because it's just like 60 more or 50 more kilometers. So
Right.
everyone who passed me, like from behind me, you know, I asked if anyone wanted to give me fuel, and actually the fourth guy who passed me stopped. He actually ended up winning the Malay Moto category this year.
Okay.
He stopped
Okay.
and he gave me fuel, so I took it in my CamelBak. I had a CamelBak of 3 liters, so I removed the water and took the fuel from him. And you know, that whole process, like I was like almost in tears when he gave me the fuel. I was like, no, like I asked him like at least 5 times, are you sure I can take it? And he said, yeah, just take it fast, you know. And I took it, and then I cruised because I knew like 60 with 3 liters is not easy, you know.
Right.
And again, the fuel got over 20 or 10 kilometers before before the end. And that time it took much longer to get fuel, but somehow someone did give me fuel again, and yeah, and I finished the stage. And then to get back from that crash, and with I hurt my knee a little bit, like the muscles, the
Okay.
quadriceps, and was not easy. But yeah, I tried to put it behind me the next day, and you know, work forward.
Great. So, a lot of people, of course, most of us who watch the Dakar keep talking that how it's not just about your physical strength or physical endurance, it's also a lot of mental strength that you require. So, like you mentioned, that of course, crashes are part of the routine for you guys. So, every time you crash, say in the Dakar, how do you just sort of prepare yourself to come back and just, get on the bike and ride again?
Yeah, sure. Like I think, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah. Small crashes for sure. It's like it will happen. I think like for sure I cannot probably ride the Dakar without tipping over at least once.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big ones you try to avoid them. You know, you don't want to have those ones like the one I had on stage 4. But yeah,
Right.
even if it does happen, I think like for me, I try to put it behind me as fast as I can. I think that's definitely key to perform better. But it's not easy again. Like you keep thinking about it, you know, you keep questioning, why did I crash? Why did I crash? You know, I shouldn't have done that. If I did that, I wouldn't have crashed. But you already crashed, so there's nothing you can do. So you can only. So I, you know, try to work on that during the year. Also, try to take it kilometer by kilometer.
Right. Okay. So, Harith, apart from that, now talking about the training bit, moving back to the training. So, what is like sort of your routine, if I may ask? Like a lot of people we keep talking amongst ourselves, me with my friends also, that we wonder what kind of a daily routine do you guys have when you're not in the rally? So, what's like a usual day of training for you?
Yeah. So yeah, training definitely plays a major role. You know, like mental strength, of course, but also physical fitness is important. So yeah, I do a lot of road cycling for endurance, and yeah, some like yoga also, just
Right.
you know, to calm down and stay focused, and some strength training, and some, you know, like calisthenics and stuff. I don't stick to one particular program, except for road cycling, where I do stick. When I do Zwift, the Zwift, it's like a software, and for that I stick to a program. But other than that, I just do what I feel like every day and keep mixing it up, you know, so it doesn't get boring. So, and of course, on those few things which I have to work on, like some weak points, I work on that separately.
Right.
But those are the things. But since the last 2 years, I've been focusing still on fitness, but I've been focusing more on riding, because I feel that that's the part where I am. I still have a lot of room for improvement when compared to like the top athletes at the Dakar
Right.
or in the international level. Because I mean, I started riding when I was 16,
Yeah.
and so you know, and the others, like generally speaking, the top athletes, motorsport athletes in the world, they start riding when they're 3 and start racing when they're 6. So there's a lot of catch up to do, but yeah, that's so. If possible, I try to ride as much as possible. So.
Yeah, and in terms of the training, of course, now we've seen most of the, well, all the motorsport guys, specifically the bike guys, be it MotoGP, motocross, or even rally guys like you. Cycling comes sort of like a natural extension, when it comes to training or practicing. So,
Yeah.
we want to know about your cycling regime, like what do you do? And of course, the Scott, the Addict RC10 that you have. Really curious to
Yeah.
know about.
Yeah, so I got the RC just after I reached back from the Dakar. It was almost like a birthday slash Dakar gift because my birthday comes right
Okay.
after the Dakar. It's on the
Oh, nice.
29th of January. So yeah, I was definitely pumped. It's super like crazy like compared to all the bikes I've ridden and seen. It's light, of course, and it looks really good because personally feel it looks really good because it's all integrated. So like you cannot spot a single cable on the bike, which
Yeah.
just makes the bike look really good. And yeah, I've been getting on the road not so much because of the lockdowns and COVID, but mostly I'm doing indoor trainings. But I have
Yeah.
taken it out on the road like 4 or 5 times, and it's really fast. Like I do, I do the loops, and some of the loops I did it, before and now again, and it's definitely much stiffer and faster. And also after the Dakar, I removed the plate from my collarbone, and
Okay.
actually 3 weeks ago I removed. No, I didn't remove, but I got a knee surgery and fixed
Okay.
something there. So road cycling helps me a lot because especially for knee things, since I had an ACL reconstruction back in 2019, it
Okay.
really helps me keep the legs strong. And yeah, it's also, it's really like, for me it's not just like training as in work, it's also fun to push
Right.
myself. If I do a loop and the same loop I do after a month, I try to beat myself what I did the month before. So it keeps pushing me, and it's fun to do it on a bike like the Addict. So yeah.
So you're saying the RC10, actually the Addict, the cycle, it's actually helping you sort of recuperate as well in terms of your knee and other benefits, that if you could just talk about cycling in terms of the training.
Yeah, so road cycling, especially, like the good thing about road cycling is you can really train specific zones
Right.
easier than, like, let's say mountain biking or something. Because mountain biking, like, I'm just saying an example, if there's a uphill climb, you're gonna
Yeah.
go all to go up
Yeah.
because it's gonna be difficult and you're gonna be pushing like to the maximum. But when you train, you don't really have to be, you shouldn't be pushing all the time to the maximum. So on a road cycle, on the road, even if it's an uphill, there are
Yeah.
so many gears on the bike and stuff. So you can even, like, if you're having a day, like during the week, I have one like a recovery day, like where I cycle, or a long ride at a lower intensity. So that
Yeah.
can be done much easier on a road bike on the road
Yeah.
than any other form of training. You can regulate the intensity really easily. So that's
Okay.
really good. And with the knee, I have like some pedals, like power pedals. So it gives me like percentage of power I put out on each leg. So if I'm
Right.
pushing more on one leg compared to the other leg, it kind of like, that tends to happen when you're weaker on one leg. So you can kind of read that and train
Right.
accordingly.
And again, sort of related to that, can you? I mean, we are also curious to know about what sort of diet do you guys follow? I mean, specifically you, in terms of training, keeping fit, healthy, and everything.
Yeah, for sure. Diet, yeah, I mean, I try to eat healthy, obviously. That means I just eat healthy stuff, like, I eat brown rice and whatnot, and a lot of
Yeah.
vegetables and fruits and stuff. But I don't focus too much on diet. Like,
Right.
if I feel like, my father has a bakery in Sharna here in Kerala. And
Yeah.
if I feel like having a shake or an ice cream, I do have it because I feel like, I mean, even if it's not good for me for my physical being, but for my mental health, I think it's better. If you want to have an ice cream, you should have an ice cream.
Yeah. So you like to sort of do a cheat meal at times.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it cheat meal, but just, yeah, if I feel
Okay.
like having an ice cream or something sweet, I have it for sure. But generally, I eat healthy.
Right. Right. Great. So, and apart from that, now you've of course rallied around the globe, and you train a lot abroad as well in France. So, what do you think in terms of the rallies abroad and say the motorsport and the rally scene here in India? How different is it? Would you think?
Yeah, it's different, but I think in India it's definitely getting better. Like rallying, I haven't done too many rallies in India. I did like three, four, five, around five
Yeah.
rallies, but mostly I did Supercross, right? So like I've done Supercross in India, and I remember when I started, it was the number of competitors were much lesser than now. So it has definitely gone up now. Even there are like junior classes. I think there are two junior classes, so that's a really good improvement. So those kids who are riding juniors now, when they're gonna be like mid 20s or beginning of their 20s, they're gonna be pretty fast, probably much faster than me. So that's really good for the future. So I mean, we still have a long way to go, I think, but I think we are going in the right direction. But at the moment, since the last year, it's really difficult. But I think everybody knows that, and yeah, I think we'll all get through it safe and sound, and hopefully have
Yeah.
more races in India.
Yeah. So on the same note, somebody just popped a question in the comments here. So, do you think we need more infrastructure to promote motorsport better in the country?
Well, I'm not a specialist, but yeah, I think everything. It's a lot of things. I don't think you cannot point fingers and say if we have to do this and then it will be okay. There are many things like I don't know, like we have to have more races. We have to publicize it more in newspapers, magazines, blah blah blah, and more sponsors have to come in. That's also good. Like sponsors
Right.
that are not already there. Like if a soap company sponsors a rider, that's like one side of I'm just saying for an example,
Yeah.
like more sponsors and just publicize it more, so more people watch it, and yeah, that's the way to go.
Right. Okay. So, somebody's asking a question about your dogs. I mean, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Nishan
sure. Yeah,
asking about dogs. Yeah.
yeah, my dog, he's pretty old now. He's like 8 years old,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
but he's still pretty active, and yeah, definitely it's like yeah, after a race, or after or in a stressful situations where I'm like a little stressed, and then I
Yeah.
come back and see the dog or something like that, it kind of like puts everything away, and like I don't care. I have my dog, everything is good, life is good. So it's definitely, for me, it's nice to have him around, and I think he loves me unconditionally, so it's really good.
Right. So, also now, Harit, I just want to quickly, I was thinking maybe let's have a rapid fire round and just ask you a few questions. So, are
Sure.
you good for it?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So, who's your all-time favorite rider?
um Ken Roxon, probably. But I
Okay.
don't look up to like I don't look up to specific people. So
Right.
like I just try to, like, I look up to a lot of people. I'm not saying I don't look up to anybody, but I
Right.
look up to them and take what I think is good and leave the
Yeah.
rest.
And what's your favorite production motorcycle?
The RR 310. I got it
Okay.
last year. It's pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Kerala or Germany?
Kerala. I like it
Okay.
hot and coconuts.
Okay. Interesting. Sunderland or Brabham?
Again, I actually Sunderland, because he has a nice pitbull dog. I met
Okay.
him. Yeah.
Right. And lastly, Shornur or Dakar?
Difficult. I don't know.
All
Uh,
right.
it's too difficult.
Got
Both
you.
are really good.
Right, right, right. So certainly. So I think we have a lot of questions coming in from the viewers as well. I'm just going to start asking a few of those.
Sure.
Uh, one question is: do you ever train with the other Indian riders like CS or KP or even Ashish Rawrane for that matter?
Yeah, yeah. So at Santosh's place not last year, I think the year before, I went there to make the track at Big Rock.
Right.
So we spent some time, like I spent few months there building the track and then riding it with him. It was fun. And with
Okay.
Aravind also, obviously we are in the same team, so we've ridden together at the TVS factory track. They have a couple of tracks there. And yeah, sometimes Rugved, he's also a TVS rider. He has come down here to Kerala to ride with me, and now I ride with another rider from Kerala. His name is Sharad. I actually was there the last 4 days I spent at his place riding his new track. So that's always fun because again there are not many tracks around here, so it's good to have a different track to ride if possible. It's always good to ride different places because you get kind of, when you ride the same place again and again, you kind of know what you expect, and you know what to expect and stuff.
Right. And Krishna Kumar is asking, what were your feelings when you got to know about CS crashing out?
Yeah, so I didn't know that he crashed, but when I stopped for the fuel, like when the fuel, the story on the stage 4. So when the fuel got over, I stopped the bike, and then obviously Santosh was like 4 or 5 people behind me. I don't know. He was behind me, but when I stopped, he still didn't pass me, right? And I stopped for some time. And then I was wondering, why is he not coming? Because he would have passed me for sure because I stopped, right?
Yeah.
And then I started, something is wrong, but I didn't think too much at that moment because I didn't have fuel and I wanted to get fuel. And I continued. Once I finished the stage, Italian rider, I forgot his name, he reached after me, and I spoke to him, and he told me that he was with Santosh. He actually crashed. Santosh crashed in the same place where I crashed, and this Italian rider also crashed in the same place where we both crashed. And yeah, he told me about the situation, and yeah, it was definitely a weird feeling because, especially because I also crashed in the same place, and it could have happened to anybody. So it's really unfortunate that it happened to him the way it did, and yeah, hopefully he'll be back soon.
Yeah, I mean, we're all hoping and wishing him a speedy recovery. I think he's a great rider. Personally, I really like him as much as, he's somebody who's done all of us proud. So let's just hope and great recovery. Yeah. Sure. Okay, so moving on then, Dennis is asking, are you on Strava? And if you have a few tips for the younger riders, please.
Yeah, I am on Strava. I don't know my user. I think it's Harit Noah 8, maybe.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, just tips. Just ride. I think it's important, especially to keep it, in a mix of things. Like if you're riding bicycles, if you're riding, let's say 3 times a week, you want to not do 3 times 1 hour in the same loop at the same speed. That's your body's gonna get used to that. So you want to try to do different things. So the easiest way, what I say, when most people ask me about what kind of training to do, how can I get fit fast, whatever, I say, if you're gonna do 3 times endurance, so let's say 3 times road cycling, you do 1 time, like a interval ride. So you push, relax, and you push and you relax for whatever time. And obviously you can get into details, but that, and then 1 time you do a long ride, so you ride for a longer period of time. So let's say if you're going to do interval for 30 minutes, you do a long ride for 1 hour, 1.5, or vice versa. If you do interval for 1 hour, you do a long ride for 2 hours or whatever, and then you do an easy ride. That will be like 30 minutes, but very easy. So you want to mix it up so your body doesn't get used to things, and it keeps working and it keeps getting better. So that's the easiest way to, what I say to people when they ask me, about endurance training, especially.
Yeah. So on the same note, Sridhar is asking, how many hours do you spend for fitness on an average every day?
I have no idea. Maybe it depends on the day. Like today, I did almost 2.5 hours of indoor Zwift, like on the bicycle, and it was very difficult. Especially in the Kerala heat, it's very difficult. And then I did another hour of strength, so it's 3.5 hours. So like 3, 2.5, 4, like that. And then riding also when I ride. Today I didn't ride. So.
Okay. So again, this personally, I just wanted to ask you. So how do you compare outdoor cycling to indoor training on a bicycle? What are the differences, and does it make a difference in terms of how it helps you physically?
Um, yeah, I think physically, like I think physical fitness, I think
Yeah,
it's just like it's maybe even better to do it indoor if you have a good trainer, because you're gonna the trainer is gonna like block your watts. Like if you're gonna do like if your training
right.
program says you're gonna do so much watts for so long, it's gonna get that watts, like it's gonna be in that resistance, and you're gonna
Yeah,
be putting out that watts, and if you don't, you're just gonna stop. And to do that outdoors is almost not possible, because you can kind of do it but not really.
right.
And so that way it's kind of better to, in a training perspective, to do it indoor for your physique. But if you want to be fast on the bicycle, obviously there is not just your leg strength, you have to have skill, like drinking from your camelback water bottle or whatever water bottle while you cycle, while you're in the duck position. So
Yeah,
if you want to be faster on the bicycle, then I would say a mix of both. But if it's just fitness, like you just want to be physically fit, just indoor training will also do. But of course, outdoor you have fresh air, and it's a better feeling, I think.
right. Okay. So, okay, we have a question. People are asking about the Addict, the RC10, the cycle. So, if you can just tell us more about the cycle.
Yeah, so my bike is an Addict RC10. So it
Yeah.
has the complete carbon frame with complete integrated cabling. That's the best part, I feel. So you don't see any cables anywhere, and it has the Dura-Ace group set. So Dura-Ace brakes and shifters and derailleurs. The cassette also is Dura-Ace. I changed it, and the chain also. And yeah, that's about it. And I have the Scott wheels on now with
Right.
the tubes, and I also have another pair of wheels, tubular wheels, which I use when I want to do some good timings. But
Okay.
yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of comfort, how do you find the Addict, the RC10?
Yeah, it's definitely. I like it a lot. I put down the position of the stem. I put it down. I
Right.
am gonna put it down a little more.
Okay.
I'm gonna like slam it completely. I'm just waiting for the one piece handlebar stem combo,
Yeah.
which I'll get hopefully soon.
Okay.
It's already in India, so I'm just waiting to get it. So once I get that, I'm gonna lower the front a little more. So I'm gonna be more. The position is gonna be more aggressive.
Right.
But even if it's like a beginner, like of course I am used to riding road cycling, so
Yeah.
I can bend down a lot and feel comfortable in that position for a longer duration. But generally, what happens for people who start road cycling and buy a road cycle is that when they
Yeah.
bend down, it kind of the back kind of feels a little weird, especially when you do longer durations.
Right.
So the stock setting, which is the highest position, is
Yeah.
pretty like comfortable, and the bikes they sell in India, like the Addict series,
Yeah.
so that's the endurance bike, and that's definitely a much more comfortable position than the RC if you
Okay.
are gonna do, if you're starting cycling and you want to do long durations. So an endurance bike would be a better option.
Okay. Fantastic. Moving on, then Abhishek is asking, how much does it help to have a personal farm in terms of training? Because most of the Europe-based riders start riding in farms as well. So, does it help? What are the advantages you think?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like it's an advantage if you have it during the lockdown, I guess. But other than that, yeah, again in India, because there are not many tracks, like there is like Big Rock and a few other places, but not a lot. And because of that reason, if you have a place, a farm, or even if there is your friend's place or something like that where you can ride,
Right.
like I started riding in the paddy fields
Okay.
initially,
Yeah.
and but there are paddy fields right like outside my house, like a few meters. So yeah, it's definitely important to have at least an area where you can go ride just in circles or whatever, do some small tracks.
Great. Okay. So we have Fabid Rally asking, how important is it to train in a great bike like the Scott Addict? Like for you as a motorcyclist, as a Dakar, as an endurance rider?
Yeah, I think it's really important because I mean I feel like comfort is very important when you train. You
Right.
can't be like training, especially when you want to do long durations, which I do. If you're not comfortable on the bike, and the Scott, it's just it's a really comfortable bike for me. I
Yeah.
feel really comfortable, and it's made, like I said, with the top components, like with all the synchro stuff and the
Yeah.
Dura Ace. And especially when I go outside, I like to go fast also. So that's possible if you have a good bike.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have Rahil Rupawala asking, what's your favorite bicycle route?
Here, there's one loop where I go from my home to like a small town called Ottapalam, and then I go a little like a smaller road, and it's a
Okay.
little foresty road, so that's really nice. The roads are not perfect, like not really good, but they're not bad. But one
Yeah.
of the craziest routes I've done on a bicycle was when I was last year. I was in Europe. I was
Okay.
not Andalusia, in Andorra,
Yeah.
and Andorra is a country. And
Right.
I had a loop. We did a loop from, like, we did a couple of times. So we started
Yeah.
from Andorra. We went to France and went through Spain and back to Andorra. So it's like it's around 140 kilometers with a lot
Yeah.
of climbing, but we passed through 3 countries, so it's a little like
Okay.
crazy.
Okay. So we have Namathavi Nanan asking, why road cycling when you're off-roading in rallies? I think that's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I asked myself that question a lot. Why, like in
Yeah.
the beginning, why do a lot of motocross athletes ride road bicycles when riding mountain bike is more sport specific. It's off road. You slide. The handlebar feels a little more similar to like a motocross bike. But then
Yeah.
again, with back to even to the home train, like training indoors, the thing about the mountain bike is it's very difficult to train at a specific intensity, because on a mountain bike, normally on the roads or the off roads you go, it's gonna be up and down, and when you hit those up hills, you are gonna push. But if
Yeah.
it's a day where you are not supposed to push, you'll have to push the bicycle up to stay in that heart rate zone or that power zone. So
Right.
it's very difficult to train with a mountain bike at specific intensities. With a road bike, like I said, if you have an easy day, you can ride easy, even if it's going uphill or whatever. And if it's a
Yeah.
hard day, obviously you can push. So that's the reason why I believe many people who ride off-road ride road cycle, because you can um,
Yeah.
yeah, the training can be more specific and within each zones, like what I said.
Great. So we have somebody asking, do you still do downhill mountain biking?
At the moment, no, I don't have a downhill bike, but yeah,
Yeah.
I still do a little bit. Like in Europe, I did a little bit, and yeah, it's definitely fun, but also it's a little dangerous. So, but
Right.
yeah, it's fun. I'm not saying mountain biking is bad. Like,
Yeah.
it's good also because it's sport specific. But if you have just two choices, to be physically fitter, I think it's better to just focus on road cycling. But if you have an option to do both are really good.
Okay. Harith, is it possible to see your Addict RC10, the cycle?
The phone is on a tripod. I will try. Yeah, it's just here.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's difficult because it's on the tripod. Sorry.
Okay. Right. That's fine. That's fine. And okay, there's a question. What do you do when recovering from an injury, especially while you can't train? I mean, how do you deal with it mentally? And of course,
Yeah,
lots of respect. Much respect is what the person says. Errol Di Mello.
yeah, sure. Yeah, it's difficult, definitely. After the injury, after any injury, you kind of like, especially when you have to sit and not do much, you tend to think a lot and question some things. But it's important to look at the big picture and keep working. So,
Yeah.
for example, when I had the ACL, the knee surgery, I did in 2019.
Right.
That was the biggest surgery I had because the recovery time was very long. Yeah, I actually started training a few days after the surgery. Of course, I couldn't walk, but I
Right.
actually watched YouTube videos of some training for elder people who can't walk. So it
Right.
was some person training sitting. Basically, you sit and you train with your hands, like you do cardio with like small weights and stuff. So I
Yeah.
was watching this guy doing it, like on YouTube every day. And yeah, I just tried to do the best I could, with the upper body at least. And so there are always ways, and you just have. I mean, obviously, sometimes you can't do anything. You have to rest, and you have to like rest then. So, but yeah, it's difficult, but you have to look at the big picture.
True. True. So we have a question. What sort of riding gear while racing do you choose, and what aspects do you look at while selecting your gear?
I like quality and also lightweight, I guess, and it needs to look good. But yeah, so I wear like Aero helmets. They're pretty light, really good. I have had, I feel like the Dhaka crash I had. I think without without a good helmet like that, it would have maybe been a little different. So I'm thankful for that. And obviously the Scott goggles. I used it throughout the Dakar. I actually used the one specific goggles from Scott. For I think out of the 12 stages, for the 10 stages, I used only this one goggle. So it's the Scott Sand and Dust or something. It's white and black. So it's basically what it is. It's so all the Scott normal Prospect goggles have normal foam, right? So those are really good. Like, I'm not saying they're bad, but they're good for like motocross or something like that. But for the desert, when you ride in the desert, there is a lot of, especially when you pass someone or a car passes you, there's a lot of very fine sand. Or even if you crash with your face first. So this goggle, the Sand and Dust goggle, has a foam which is thicker, and there's no way sand can go inside. It's 100% sandproof. So I used that goggles the whole Dakar. The only time I didn't use it is when it was a little humid and rainy, because there is no gap for sand to go in. There is also less gap for air to go in and out. So if you're gonna wear it, like if it's rainy, don't wear it because you're gonna get foggy. So then just use the normal ones. But other than that, I think for rallying, it's a really good goggle.
Right. And recently, you took part in the Scott Challenge with regards to changing the lens as well, right? How was that? Must have been fun.
Yeah, I actually I talked to Ishan about it. I actually am really bad at it. Like during the Dakar, he came to film or take some pictures, and I was changing the lens, and it took me much longer. But I tried it, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Great. So, Harit, of course, I mean, there's more and more questions coming, but I think we've been on this for a while. Also, lastly, I think I just want to, ask you that a lot of people have been saying this throughout the session, that what are some tips that you would like to give to people starting off in motorsport? Because there's thousands of guys who look up to you today. You've done what, is a dream for like thousands of enthusiasts. So what are some tips that you could give?